The first plasma beam struck the colony's main power station. But instead of exploding, the building simply disappeared. Where metal and concrete had stood seconds before, only smooth glass remained. The attack had turned everything into nothing, leaving behind a perfectly clean crater. Commander Ji-Hai Kim watched in horror from the military command center. Her training had prepared her for many types of attacks, but nothing like this. The enemy weapons didn't just destroy, they erased things completely. "All defense units open fire," she ordered into her radio. The colony's missile systems launched their weapons at the alien ships, but the missiles exploded harmlessly against invisible barriers around the enemy vessels. The aliens had shields that stopped everything the humans could throw at them. Another plasma beam hit the residential district. 300 homes vanished in an instant, along with everyone inside them. No explosion, no debris, no trace that people had ever lived there. Just smooth, empty ground. Governor Hyunwoo ran through the streets shouting for people to get to the emergency bunkers. Parents carried crying children while old people helped each other move as fast as they could. But the alien beams were faster than running feet. This way, called shuttle pilot Yoon Ji-seo. She had landed her transport ship near the school and was loading it with children. "I can get you to the orbital station." Families pushed toward her ship, hoping to escape the planet before the aliens destroyed everything. Yoonji worked as fast as she could, but she could only take 50 people at a time. Chief Engineer Min Ho-yoon ran toward the communication center. If they could send one message to Earth, maybe someone would know what happened here. Maybe someone could warn the other colonies. The building shook as another plasma beam hit somewhere nearby. Min-ho's hands flew over the control panels, trying to boost power to their long-range transmitter. The alien jamming was very strong, but maybe he could break through. Young Marine Sun Woo. Oh had never seen real combat before. He was only 19 years old and had joined the Colonial Defense Force to help protect farmers from wild animals. Now he crouched behind a barrier, watching his entire world disappear beam by beam. A plasma blast hit the building next to him. Sun Woo expected flying debris and fire. Instead, he watched the structure fade away like smoke. The people inside didn't even have time to scream. One moment they were there. The next moment there was only empty space. Dr. So-min Lee was trapped in her research laboratory when the attack began. The building's emergency systems had sealed all the doors to keep dangerous chemicals from leaking out. Now she couldn't escape, but she could still work. Her instruments showed something important. The aliens weren't just attacking randomly. They were studying everything before they destroyed it. Energy scanners swept across each building, recording what was inside. Only then did the plasma beams fire. So-min realized the aliens wanted to understand human technology and biology. They were learning about their enemy even as they killed them. She started recording everything she knew about the aliens onto a small data storage device. The colony's spaceport exploded into glass as Yoonji lifted off with her third load of refugees. She had saved 150 people, but 30,000 more were still down there. Her radio crackled with desperate calls for help from all over the colony. "This is Transport 7, came a voice. "We're taking heavy fire. Can anyone assist?" Another voice answered. "Transport 7, this is Transport 3, we're all on our own now." Yoonji wanted to go back for more people, but her fuel was running low. If she tried another landing, she might not be able to take off again. The terrible choice tore at her heart, but she had to think of the people already on her ship. In the command bunker, Governor Hyunwoo made the hardest decision of his life. The surface defenses were useless against the alien shields. Their weapons couldn't hurt the enemy ships, but maybe they could save some people by hiding underground. "Order all civilians to the deep bunkers," he told Ji-Hai. "Seal the blast doors and wait for rescue." Ji-Hai knew no rescue was coming. Earth was too far away. By the time any help arrived, there would be nothing left to save. But she followed orders anyway, because that's what soldiers do. The aliens had brought special machines to the planet's surface. These atmospheric processors looked like huge metal towers. They pumped chemicals into the air that killed all plant and animal life. Grass turned brown and died. Trees lost their leaves and fell over. Even the bacteria in the soil stopped living. Sun Woo watched from his hiding place as the machines worked. The beautiful parks where children played became dead, empty fields. The flower gardens that had made the colony so pretty turned into bare dirt. The aliens were erasing all signs of life. Min-ho finally managed to boost the transmitter power enough to break through the jamming. He had maybe 30 seconds before the aliens noticed and stopped him. His fingers typed as fast as possible. Emergency transmission from New Busan Colony. We are under attack by unknown alien forces. They have superior technology and are destroying everything. The weapons erase matter completely. No explosions, no debris. They are using atmospheric processors to kill all biological life. Colony population 50,000. Estimate 0 survivors. This is our final transmission. Please remember us. Please avenge us. A plasma beam hit the communication center just as Minho pressed the send button. He had just enough time to hope his message got through before everything turned to glass around him. Dr. So-min finished copying all her research data and attached it to a small probe. These probes were designed to carry scientific samples back to Earth. If she could launch it before the aliens found her laboratory, maybe someone would learn the truth about what happened here. Her instruments showed that the alien ships had a weakness. Their shields used a lot of power and had to recharge between attacks. A smart military force might be able to exploit that weakness. But New Busan Colony didn't have time to be smart. The probe launched just as the laboratory's roof began to glow with heat from an approaching plasma beam. So-min looked at the pictures on her desk. Her family back on Earth, her research team, the first flowers they had successfully grown on this world. I hope someone finds your weakness, she whispered to the aliens. I hope someone makes you pay. The laboratory vanished in a flash of light. Young Sik-jung had one job left. In the deepest bunker, he operated the colony's final emergency beacon. This simple device would broadcast their location and status for years, powered by a nuclear battery. Maybe someday someone would come looking for them. He recorded a short message. This is New Busan Colony emergency beacon. Colony destroyed by alien attack. No survivors detected. Date of attack, April 15, 2387. We were 50,000 strong. We were building something beautiful here. Don't let them erase us from history. Above ground, the aliens finished their work. Where a thriving human colony had stood that morning, only bare rock remained. The atmospheric processors had killed every living thing and turned the terraformed environment back into a dead world. Fleet Commander Vexithara looked at the clean planet with satisfaction. Another source of biological contamination had been removed from the galaxy. The chaotic mess of organic life was gone, replaced by perfect, sterile order. Excellent work, she told her crew. This world is clean again. Begin scanning for the next infected system. The Velothi ships turned away from the planet and disappeared into deep space. Behind them, they left no trace that humans had ever lived there. No buildings, no roads, no graves. Just empty, lifeless rock under a clear sky. But in the darkness between stars, a tiny probe carried Dr. So-min's data toward Earth. And deep underground, Young Sik's emergency beacon continued broadcasting its message into the void, calling out to anyone who might be listening. The colony was gone, but the story was not over. The morning sun cast long shadows across New Busan Colony as Governor Hyunwoo Park walked through the main street. Children ran past him laughing as they chased each other between the market stalls. The smell of fresh bread mixed with the sweet scent of flowering trees that lined the walkways. After 10 years of hard work, the colony had become everything they had dreamed of. 50,000 people now called this place home. The planet Kepler 442c had been just another dead rock when they arrived. Now it bloomed with earth plants and rang with human voices. Hyunwoo smiled as he watched an old man teaching his grandson how to fish in the artificial lake. This was what humanity could build when they worked together. At the military base on the colony's edge, Commander Ji-hye Kim studied the morning reports. Everything looked normal. The defense systems were running perfectly. The orbital sensors showed clear space in all directions. Her soldiers were well trained and ready for anything. Or so she thought. Dr. So-min Lee had been working in her lab since before dawn. As the colony's chief scientist, she studied the planet's natural life and helped improve their farming. But today something strange appeared on her instruments. Electromagnetic readings were coming from the northern continent where no human had ever been. Tae-sung, look at this, she called to her research partner. Tae-sung Choi was younger than her but very smart. He helped her with the complex equipment they used to study the planet. Tae-sung walked over and looked at the screen. The readings showed energy patterns unlike anything they had seen before. Maybe it's just natural, he said. This planet still has many secrets we don't know about, but So-min felt worried. In all her years studying planets, she had never seen readings like these. The patterns were too regular, too organized. They looked almost artificial. Across the colony, communications officer Dong Hyun Kang noticed his own problems. The signals between different parts of the colony kept cutting out for short periods. At first, he thought it was just equipment failure. But when he checked the systems, everything looked fine. The disruptions followed a pattern. They happened at the same time each day and lasted exactly the same amount of time. Dong Hyun had worked with communications for 15 years. He knew the difference between random failures and something else. Far above the planet's atmosphere, massive ships moved through the darkness of space. They had been watching the human colony for months. The ships belonged to the Velothi, an alien race that had traveled the galaxy for millions of years. The Velothi believed that life was a disease that infected clean worlds. They saw planets covered with plants and animals as dirty and wrong. Their own world was perfectly clean, with no messy biological life anywhere. Every surface was smooth metal or crystal. Every building was exactly the same shape. Everything had its proper place. Fleet Commander Vex Ithara stood on the bridge of the lead ship. Her body was tall and thin, with pale skin that never saw natural sunlight. Like all Velothi, she found biological life disgusting. The very thought of plants growing wild or animals running free made her feel sick. The contamination has spread further, reported her science officer. The humans have infected more of the planet's surface with their biological chaos. Vexthara nodded. She had studied many worlds before ordering their cleansing. This was always the hardest part, watching a clean world get ruined by organic life. But it was necessary work. The galaxy had to be kept pure. How many of the infected creatures are there? She asked. 50,000 humans plus countless plants and lower animals they brought with them, came the reply. They have also introduced bacteria and other microscopic life forms across large areas. The number made Vexithara's stomach turn. 50,000 sources of biological chaos, spreading their infection every day. And the microscopic life was the worst part. Billions of tiny creatures breeding and changing without any control or purpose. Back on the planet, Somin made another discovery. The energy readings were getting stronger each day. She started to think they might be coming from some kind of technology. But what kind of technology could produce such massive amounts of energy? She decided to send a message to Earth, asking for advice from the scientists there. But when she tried to use the long-range communication system, it wouldn't work properly. Dong Hyun told her they were having technical problems. Can you fix it? Somin asked. Dong Hyun looked worried. I've checked everything twice. The equipment is working fine. Something is blocking our signals from outside. That evening, Governor Hyun-woo held his weekly meeting with the colony's leaders. Commander Ji-hee reported that all defenses were ready. Chief Engineer Min Ho-yoon said all the power systems were running well. Dr. Somin mentioned the strange energy readings, but everyone was too busy with daily work to worry much about it. As the meeting ended, a young communications worker named Young-sik Jung ran into the room. His face was pale with fear. Governor, he said, breathing hard, long-range sensors are picking up something big approaching from deep space. Everyone rushed to the command center. On the main screen, they could see massive objects moving toward their planet. The objects were huge, each one bigger than their entire colony. Commander Ji-hye tried to contact the approaching ships. Unknown vessels, this is New Busan Colony. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. No answer came. She tried again using different communication frequencies. Still nothing. Maybe their communication systems are different from ours, suggested Tai-sung. But Somin had a terrible feeling in her stomach. The energy readings from the North Continent, the signal disruptions, and now these massive ships. It all connected somehow. We need to contact Earth immediately, she said. Young-sik tried to send an emergency message to Earth, but the communication system completely stopped working. Whatever was blocking their signals had gotten much stronger. On the Velothi command ship, Vexthara gave her final orders. Begin the cleansing process. Remove all biological contamination from this world. Leave no trace that organic life was ever here. The last thing the colony's sensors recorded was a massive energy buildup from the approaching ships. Somin managed to activate an emergency recording device just as the first energy beams lit up the sky. Unknown vessels approaching, her voice said into the recorder. Massive energy signatures detected. They're not responding to any communication attempts. I think they're going to attack us. If anyone finds this message, please remember us. Please remember New Busan Colony. We tried to build something beautiful here. The recording device went silent as the first plasma beams reached the planet's surface. 6 months after the attack, Dr. So-min's small probe finally reached Earth. The data it carried made scientists around the world stop what they were doing and stare at their screens in horror. An entire human colony, 50,000 people, had been completely erased from existence. President Wu Jin-lim sat in his office, reading the report for the 5th time. The words didn't get easier to understand. Plasma weapons that turned matter into nothing. Atmospheric processors that killed all life. An alien race that viewed humans as a disease to be cured. They didn't even try to communicate with us, he said to his advisors. No warnings, no demands, no explanation. They just killed everyone. Admiral Kyung-ho Nam, Earth's top military commander, stood by the window looking out at the blue sky. He had fought in 3 different wars, but nothing had prepared him for this. Sir, we have to assume they will attack again. Other colonies might already be under observation. The president made his decision quickly. Admiral, I'm giving you unlimited resources. Build the biggest fleet you can. Design new weapons. Find these aliens and make them pay for what they did to New Busan. Across the city, Chief Weapons Designer Hee Jin-bae studied Dr. So-min's research data. The alien shields had stopped every human weapon, but the data showed they weren't perfect. The shields used massive amounts of power and had to recharge between uses. A smart attack at the right time might get through. We need faster weapons, she told her team. Something that hits before they can recharge their shields. Her assistant, a young engineer named Jae-ho Park, suggested quantum torpedoes. These weapons could phase through normal matter and hit targets directly. If they worked against alien shields, humanity might have a fighting chance. Tactical analyst Jae Min-shin had a different job. He studied all the information about the aliens, looking for patterns. Where would they attack next? How did they choose their targets? What made them tick? The data showed the aliens always watched a colony for several months before attacking. They needed time to study human technology and biology. That meant somewhere in space they were probably watching another human world right now. Jaemin's computer models pointed to New Seoul Colony as the most likely next target. The colony was similar to New Busan, about 200,000 people living on a terraformed world. It had been established for 15 years and was thriving. We have maybe 3 months, he told Admiral Kyung-ho. If I'm right, they're already watching New Seoul. But they won't attack until they've learned everything they want to know. General Sang-woo Park took charge of developing new military tactics. The old ways of fighting wouldn't work against these aliens. Humanity needed a completely new approach. We call it Total Response Protocol, he explained to his officers. If they want to erase us, we erase them first. No mercy, no hesitation, no second chances. Naval architect Bo-ra Cha worked day and night designing new warships. The old ships were built for fighting other humans. They were too slow and too weak for this enemy. The new ships would be fast attack vessels, built specifically for hunting alien fleets. Every ship will carry quantum torpedoes and phase cannons, she explained to the shipyard workers. We're building hunters, not defenders. Intelligence operative Dae-hyun Moon had the most dangerous job. He took small, fast ships into deep space looking for signs of alien activity. His job was to find the enemy before they found more human colonies. On his 3rd mission, Dae-hyun made a terrible discovery. The aliens had attacked other worlds before New Busan. His instruments detected the remains of several star systems that had been completely sterilized. Not just planets, entire solar systems stripped of all biological life. The evidence showed this alien race had been cleansing the galaxy for thousands, maybe millions of years. They weren't just enemies. They were the greatest threat to life itself that had ever existed. Dae-hyun's report sent shockwaves through Earth's government. These weren't just aggressive aliens. They were genocidal maniacs who wanted to kill everything alive in the universe. How many civilizations have they destroyed? President Wu Jin asked. We can't be sure, Dae-hyun replied. But from what I've seen, maybe hundreds. Maybe thousands. They're very good at what they do. The president addressed the human race in a broadcast that was heard on every world. Every ship, every space station where humans lived. My fellow humans, he said. We face an enemy that wants to kill not just us, but all life everywhere. They have murdered entire civilizations. They erased our brothers and sisters on New Busan Colony without even trying to talk to us first. The camera showed pictures of New Busan before the attack. Children playing, families working together. the beautiful gardens and parks that humans had built on an alien world. "We will not let this stand," the president continued. "We will not hide and hope they leave us alone. We will not negotiate with genocidal killers. We will find them and we will destroy them completely." Back at the shipyards, construction continued around the clock. Workers who had never seen combat volunteered for the most dangerous jobs. Engineers worked without sleep to finish the new weapons. Everyone understood that humanity's survival was at stake. Captain Hae-won Kim took command of the first new warship, UES Incheon. The ship was smaller than the old battleships, but twice as fast. Its quantum torpedo tubes could fire through enemy shields, and its engines could outrun anything the aliens had. "This ship is built for one purpose," she told her crew. "We find aliens and we kill them. No other mission matters now." Admiral Kyung-ho stood in the command center of his flagship, watching dozens of new warships take shape in the orbital shipyards. In 6 months, humanity had built the most powerful fleet in its history. But would it be enough? The answer came from Jamin's early warning system. Long-range sensors detected alien ships approaching New Sol Colony, exactly as predicted. "Admiral," came the report. "Alien fleet spotted 3 days out from New Sol. Estimated 12 heavy ships, same configuration as the new Busan attack." Kyung-ho nodded calmly. Humanity had known this moment would come. The question was whether they were ready for it. "Signal the Retribution fleet," he ordered. "All ships to New Sol immediately. Maximum speed." As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, Kyung-ho thought about the 50,000 people who had died on New Busan. Their deaths would not be in vain. Today, humanity would show the galaxy what happened to anyone who tried to erase the human race. The aliens thought they were hunters. They were about to learn they had become the prey. On New Sol Colony, Governor Min Jae-song received an emergency message from Earth. Alien ships were coming. The colony had maybe 48 hours to prepare. But this time, humanity wasn't helpless. This time, they were ready to fight back. The Retribution fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the New Sol system with a flash of blue light. 200 human warships appeared in perfect formation, their weapons charged and ready for battle. Admiral Kyung-ho Nam stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with cold satisfaction. "Alien ships detected," reported his sensor officer. 12 vessels, same class as New Busan attackers. They're in observation position above the planet. They think they're studying another helpless colony," Kyung-ho said quietly. "Time to show them how wrong they are." Fleet Commander Vexithara was indeed studying the human colony below. Her science teams had been watching New Sol for 3 months, learning about human technology and biology. In a few more days, they would begin the cleansing process. Then her sensors detected the massive human fleet appearing behind them. "Impossible," she whispered. "The humans don't have ships like these." Her science officer checked the readings twice. "Fleet Commander, I'm detecting 200 human vessels. Energy signatures are completely different from anything in our database." Vexithara felt something she had never experienced before. Fear. In 10,000 years of cleansing operations, no species had ever fought back effectively. Most were destroyed before they even knew what was happening. The few that tried to fight had primitive weapons that couldn't hurt Velothi ships. But these human vessels looked different. Sleeker, faster, more dangerous. "Activate combat shields," she ordered. "Prepare for battle." Captain Hae-won Kim smiled as she watched the alien ships scramble to defensive positions. The UES Incheon was at the front of the attack formation, its quantum torpedo tubes loaded and ready. "This is for New Busan," she said into her radio. "All ships weapons free. Show them what humans do to murderers." The first wave of quantum torpedoes phased through the alien shields like they weren't even there. Hijinbei's new weapons worked perfectly. The exotic particles went through normal matter and struck the alien ship hulls. Directly, Vexthara watched in horror as 3 of her ships exploded in brilliant white fireballs. The human weapons had completely ignored their shields. How was that possible? "Return fire," she screamed. "Kill them all." The Velothi plasma beams lanced out toward the human fleet, but the new ships were ready. Built by Bora Cha's team specifically for this fight, they were faster and more agile than anything humans had ever flown before. Captain Yu Jin-ju of the UES Gwangju led her squadron in a diving attack that took them under the alien formation. Her ship's computers had been programmed with new electronic warfare systems designed by her crew. "Uploading virus package now," reported her communications officer. "I'm getting into their networks." The virus program spread through the alien ship systems like wildfire. Suddenly, Velathi's ships began firing on each other as their targeting computers went crazy. Navigation systems shut down, leaving ships drifting helplessly in space. Fighter pilot Insu Kwan led 3 squadrons of the new interceptors against alien support craft. The small human ships moved like angry hornets, too fast for alien weapons to track. Their micro-torpedoes punched holes through alien armor like paper. "Scratch 4 more aliens," Insu called over the radio. "These new fighters are incredible." Chief Engineer Seung-Ho Lee had designed special weapon platforms that could turn alien plasma technology against itself. When alien ships fired their weapons, the platforms captured some of the plasma and redirected it back at the attackers. "Alien ship number 7 is firing on us," reported his technician. "Good," Seung-Ho replied. "Capture that plasma and send it back to them with interest." The redirected plasma beam hit the alien ship's own hull, punching through armor that had been designed to stop human weapons, not Velathi ones. Vexithara's perfect attack formation was falling apart. Half her ships were damaged or destroyed. The others were fighting against their own computer systems. These humans weren't the helpless prey species she had expected. "Fleet Commander," her communications officer reported, "I'm receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Put it through." Admiral Kyung-ho's face appeared on her screen. His expression was hard as stone. "Alien Commander, this is Admiral Nam of the United Earth Navy. You made a mistake when you murdered the people of New Busan Colony." Vexithara tried to speak, but Kyung-ho continued. "Your species thinks life is a disease to be cured. Today you learned that humanity is the cure for species like yours. We remember our dead. We protect our own. And we make sure genocidal murderers like you never kill again." The transmission cut off, and another wave of quantum torpedoes slammed into the remaining alien ships. Captain Junho Seo had been promoted after showing great courage during training exercises. Now he led a boarding party onto a damaged alien vessel. Human Marines in combat armor moved through corridors that looked like the inside of a crystal. "Everything's so clean," one Marine commented. "No decorations, no personal items, nothing." "They hate biological life," Junho reminded his team. "That includes any sign of individual personality." They found the alien crew huddled in their command center looking terrified. The tall, pale beings had never seen humans up close before. To them, the Marines looked like walking disease. Biological chaos that threatened everything they believed in. "Secure the prisoners," Junho ordered. "Intelligence wants to question them." Back in the main battle, only 3 alien ships remained operational. Vexthara's flagship was badly damaged, its shields failing and engines offline. Around her, the human fleet moved in perfect formation, ready to finish what they had started. "Fleet Commander," her science officer said quietly, "perhaps we should attempt to communicate with them." "Explain our purpose," Vexthara laughed bitterly. "You think these creatures will understand the need for galactic purity? Look at them. They're biological chaos incarnate." On his flagship, Admiral Kyung-ho received reports from all his ship captains. Total human casualties, 37 wounded, 0 dead. Alien casualties, 9 ships destroyed, 3 ships captured, thousands of aliens dead. It was the most one-sided battle in human history. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead alien ship." "Put it through." Vexithara's image appeared on the screen. Her pale face was covered with what looked like burns, and her crystal-like armor was cracked. "Human Admiral," she said, her voice filled with pain and confusion. "You don't understand what you're doing. Biological life is chaos. It spreads without control, changes without purpose, creates disorder wherever it goes." Kyung-ho looked at her with no expression. "We understand perfectly. You're genocidal killers who murder entire civilizations because you don't like the way they live." "No," Vexithara insisted. "We preserve order. We maintain purity. We prevent the galaxy from becoming a chaotic mess of uncontrolled biological growth." "Tell that to the 50,000 people you murdered on New Busan," Kyung-ho replied. "Tell that to the children who died without ever knowing why." Vexithara fell silent. In her mind, those weren't children. They were sources of biological contamination that had to be removed. But seeing the anger in the human admiral's eyes, she began to understand that other species might not see it that way. Your fleet is destroyed, Kyung-ho continued. Your ships are captured. Your crews are prisoners. But I want you to take a message back to your leaders. What message? Kyung-ho's voice became as cold as space itself. Humanity knows about you now. We know what you've done to other species across the galaxy. We know you're planning to kill more colonies. That ends today. He leaned forward, his eyes burning with determination. From this moment on, any Velothi ship that approaches a human world will be destroyed. Any Velothi fleet that attacks any living planet will face the full power of the human navy. We're not just defending ourselves anymore. We're defending all life against monsters like you. The transmission ended. Minutes later, escape pods launched from the remaining alien ships just before they exploded. The Battle of New Seoul was over. As the human fleet regrouped, Admiral Kyung-ho looked down at the planet they had saved. 200,000 people were alive because humanity had learned to fight back. But in the captured alien databanks, intelligence officers made a disturbing discovery. New Seoul wasn't the only human colony under observation. The aliens had target lists with dozens of human worlds marked for cleansing. The war was just beginning. Intelligence officer Dae-hyun Moon floated in the command center of his stealth ship, studying the data from captured alien computers. After weeks of careful translation work, he had finally found what humanity was looking for: the location of the Velothi homeworld. Admiral, he reported to Kyung-ho over the secure communication link, I've found their home system. It's called Velothi Prime, about 200 light-years from Earth. Admiral Kyung-ho studied the star charts from his flagship. The alien homeworld was deep in unexplored space, surrounded by what looked like the remains of destroyed solar systems. What do you see out there, Dae-hyun? It's worse than we thought, sir. They've been doing this for millions of years. I count at least 50 star systems that have been completely sterilized. No planets, no asteroids, no comets, everything turned into sterile dust. The Admiral felt sick thinking about how many civilizations had died. Billions of intelligent beings, entire species with their own cultures and dreams, all erased because the Velothi thought life was messy. We're going to stop them, he said quietly. Prepare the fleet for deep space operations. We're taking the fight to their home. The journey to Velothi Prime took the human fleet through a region of space that looked like a graveyard. Dead systems stretched in all directions, their stars shining on nothing but empty vacuum and floating debris. Xenoarchaeologist Mi Young Choi studied the ruins from her research ship. Each destroyed system told the same story. Thriving civilizations suddenly cut short by Velothi cleansing operations. Some of these species never even knew what hit them, she reported to the fleet. I'm finding evidence of advanced technology, art, music, literature. Entire cultures that developed over millions of years, gone in a matter of days. Captain Jun-ho Seo, now leading a squadron of attack ships, flew reconnaissance missions through the debris fields. His sensors detected fragments of alien architecture, pieces of spacecraft, even what looked like children's toys from species that had died long before humans learned to make fire. Every piece of debris is a reminder, he told his crew. We're not just fighting for humanity anymore. We're fighting for every species these monsters have killed. When the human fleet finally reached Velothi Prime, they found something that defied belief. The planet was perfectly geometric, a sphere of polished metal and crystal with no natural features anywhere. Massive cities covered every surface, but they were all identical. Every building was exactly the same height, the same shape, the same color. It looks like a machine, whispered Captain Haewon Kim from the bridge of the UES Incheon. Not a world where living beings would want to live. Dr. Chang-min Park, the fleet's chief scientist, studied the planet through powerful telescopes. He had been working from Dr. So-min's research for months, trying to understand Velothi biology and psychology. Look at the population centers, he told Admiral Kyung-ho. Every Velothi lives in identical dome structures. No individuality, no personal expression, no chaos of any kind, the Admiral understood. They're not just afraid of biological life. They're afraid of anything that changes or grows or acts unpredictably. Exactly. Their entire civilization is built on artificial sterility. That's why they find us so threatening. We represent everything they've tried to eliminate from their own lives. As the human fleet studied the planet, alarms began sounding on alien ships throughout the system. The Velothi Grand Armada was coming home to defend their world. 1,000 ships, each the size of a human city. Grand Admiral Thex Void had commanded fleets for 3,000 years. He had cleansed hundreds of worlds and never lost a single battle. When he received reports of human ships approaching Velothi Prime, he couldn't believe it. Impossible, he told his staff. The humans are a primitive species. They barely have space travel. Sir, our scouts report 200 human vessels with unknown technology. They've already destroyed 3 of our cleansing fleets. Thex Void's pale face showed no emotion, but inside he felt something like anger. These biological creatures dared to threaten the purity of Velothi Prime? He would show them what happened to species that challenged Velothi superiority. Deploy the entire Grand Armada, he ordered. I want every human ship destroyed and every human world marked for immediate cleansing. Captain Yujin Ju watched from her ship's bridge as the massive alien fleet approached. 1,000 ships against 200. The odds looked impossible. But she had studied the intelligence reports carefully. All ships, she broadcast to the fleet. Remember what we learned at New Sol. Their shields are powerful, but they use too much energy. Their ships are big, but they're slow. We're faster, smarter, and we have weapons they've never seen before. The battle began when Admiral Kyung Ho gave a simple order. All ships, attack formation. Show them what happens when you murder innocent people. The human fleet spread out in a complex pattern that confused the Velothi commanders. Instead of meeting the aliens head-on, the smaller human ships darted between the massive enemy vessels like fish swimming between whales. Captain Insu Kwan led his fighter squadrons in hit-and-run attacks that drove the alien captains crazy. His small ships would appear, fire their weapons, and disappear before the aliens could respond. They're too big to catch us, he reported to Admiral Kyung Ho. We can dance around them all day. Meanwhile, boarding specialist Jun Seo-oh was leading teams of Marines onto captured alien ships. But instead of destroying the vessels, they were reprogramming them. Human computer experts had learned to hack Velothi systems during the Battle of New Sol. Ship 17 is now under human control, Jun Seo reported, turning it against the enemy fleet. Grand Admiral Thex Void watched in growing horror as his perfect formation fell apart. Human ships moved in ways that seemed impossible. Their weapons ignored Velothi shields. Worst of all, some of his own ships were turning against him. How are they doing this? He demanded. His science officer looked terrified. Sir, they appear to understand our technology better than we do. They're turning our own systems against us. The turning point came when Captain Hei-Wan broke through the orbital defenses around Velothi Prime. Her ship, the UES Incheon, carried a special cargo designed by Dr. Chang Min Park, biological warfare weapons. But these weren't designed to kill Velothi. They were designed to do something much worse, contaminate their perfect world with life. Beginning atmospheric deployment, she reported to Admiral Kyung Ho. Dr. Chang Min's packages are away. The packages contained bacteria, algae, and microorganisms from Earth. As they spread through Velothi Prime's sterile atmosphere, something unprecedented happened. The planet's population began to panic. On the surface, Velothi citizens watched in horror as tiny green spots appeared on their perfect crystal buildings. Bacteria began growing in their sterile water systems. Algae started forming in their pristine air filters. For a species that had spent millions of years eliminating all traces of biological chaos from their lives, the contamination was more terrifying than any weapon. Many Velothi simply shut down mentally, unable to cope with the presence of uncontrolled life. Marine biologist Jin Woo Hong, who had joined the military when the war began, led the first human landing parties onto Velothi Prime itself. What they found amazed them. They're not fighting us, he reported. They're just standing there staring at the bacteria growing on their buildings. Some of them are actually crying. The Velothi they encountered weren't evil monsters. They were terrified. Confused beings who had been taught from birth that biological life was the greatest threat in the universe. Seeing Earth microorganisms growing on their perfect world broke something fundamental in their psychology. Grand Admiral Thex Void made one last desperate attack, throwing his remaining ships directly at the human fleet. But his crews were demoralized and terrified. Reports from their homeworld told of biological contamination spreading everywhere. What have you done? He screamed at Admiral Kyung Ho over the communication system. You've destroyed everything. Our perfect order, our pure civilization, all contaminated with your chaotic life. Admiral Kyung Ho's response was calm and cold. We've given your world what it's been missing for millions of years, actual life. Maybe now your people can learn what it means to grow and change instead of just killing everything different from themselves. Thexvoid's flagship crashed into Velethi Prime's surface, adding its wreckage to the contamination that was slowly turning the sterile world into something that could support actual living beings. As the battle ended, war correspondent Sejin Lim documented what had happened. The mighty Velethi Grand Armada was destroyed. Their homeworld was contaminated with Earth life. Their empire was broken. But most importantly, the galaxy was finally safe from their genocidal cleansing operations. Never again would entire species disappear simply because they made the universe more interesting and complex. The war was over, and life had won.